Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The barrel of a silenced pistol pressed against my temple before the thunder even finished rolling across the sky. Give me one reason why I shouldn't paint this alley with your brains right now. A voice growled, low, vibrating with a lethal mixture of hatred and twisted familiarity. I was frozen, rain plastering my cheap button-down shirt to my shivering frame, my knees specifically muddy from where I had dropped to comfort the weeping child clinging to my leg. The boy, no older than 5, buried his face into my stomach, sobbing the word that had started this nightmare only seconds ago. Mom, I was a 24-year-old man, a struggling barista living in the slums of Sector 4, yet this child looked at me with the desperation of a starving devotee finding his God. I slowly raised my hands, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I turned my head inches to the left, looking past the gun into eyes that were the color of molten gold. Eyes that looked at me as if I were a ghost who had clawed his way out of hell just to haunt him. I don't know who you are, I whispered, my voice cracking under the pressure of the killing intent radiating from the man. The man in the bespoke charcoal suit didn't flinch. He was beautiful in a terrifying, architectural way, sharp jawline, broad shoulders that blocked out the streetlights, and an aura of absolute authority. He looked at the child clinging to me, then back at my face. A cruel, incredulous smirk twisted his lips. You don't know who I am? He laughed, a dark, hollow sound. You play the innocent amnesiac well, Julian. It's almost convincing. But you forgot one thing. He grabbed my chin, his leather gloves creaking with the force of his grip. You can't wash away the sin of abandoning your own flesh and blood. Before I could protest, before I could explain that my name was Nico, not Julian, and that I had never seen this man or this child in my life, the world tilted. He struck me, not with a fist, but with the hilt of the gun against my temple. The wet pavement rushed up to meet me, and the last thing I heard was the child screaming that impossible word again, and the man ordering his subordinates to bring him home. The cage is still waiting. Consciousness returned in waves of pain and the scent of expensive sandalwood. I wasn't in the alley anymore. I was lying on a bed that cost more than my entire life's earnings, surrounded by walls of floor-to-ceiling glass. Beyond them, the city skyline glittered like a bed of jewels, cold and indifferent. I tried to sit up, but the clinking of metal stopped me short. I stared at my left wrist. A slender, silver chain connected a velvet-lined cuff on my arm to the heavy mahogany headboard. You're awake. I snapped my head toward the corner of the room. The man, the devil from the alley, sat in a wingback chair, nursing a tumbler of amber liquid. He had shed his suit jacket, revealing a vest that hugged a torso built for violence. Where am I? I rasped, tugging uselessly at the chain. Who are you? He stood up, the ice in his glass clinking. He moved with the predatory grace of a panther, closing the distance between us until he was looming over the bed. Drop the act, Julian. It's been 5 years. 5 years since you took the money from my father, left our son in a crib, and vanished. I told you. I shouted, panic rising in my throat. I'm Nico. I work at a coffee shop on 4th and Main. I woke up in a hospital 5 years ago with no memory of anything before that. I don't know you. The man paused. His golden eyes narrowed, searching my face for a micro-expression of deceit. When he didn't find it, his expression didn't soften. It hardened into something more complex. He placed the glass on the nightstand and leaned down, bracing his hands on either side of my head, trapping me. 5 years ago, he repeated slowly. You woke up in a hospital. Yes. I was a John Doe. Head trauma. They said I was in a car accident. A car accident, he echoed, his voice dripping with irony. Is that what my father told you after he paid you off? Or did he try to kill you and fail, leaving you with a convenient hole in your memory? My breath hitched. The intensity of his gaze was overwhelming. My body was reacting to him in ways my mind couldn't comprehend. My skin prickled with a phantom familiarity, a sense of rightness being this close to him, even as he threatened me. It was a biological betrayal. I don't know what you're talking about, I whispered. Then explain this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. He tossed it onto the silk sheets. I looked down. It was a photo of two young men sitting on a park bench, laughing. One was the man looming over me, looking younger, softer. The other was me. But it wasn't the me I saw in the mirror every day, tired, hollow, wearing thrift store clothes. This version of me was radiant. I was holding a violin, leaning my head on his shoulder. And in my lap sat a baby with the same dark curls as the boy in the alley. The room spun. That's impossible. That is Julian, the man said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. My fiancé, the other father of my son, Leo, and the man who broke my heart into 1,000 jagged pieces. He grabbed my jaw again, forcing me to look at him. I am Cashin Vane, and you are going to stay in this room until you remember why you destroyed us, or until I decide you've suffered enough to pay for it. The days that followed were a blur of psychological warfare. Cashin kept me locked in the penthouse, a prisoner in a gilded cage. He didn't starve me. He fed me gourmet meals. He didn't beat me. He watched me. He watched me with a hunger that terrified me, a mix of longing and loathing that seemed to tear him apart. The child, Leo, was the only light. One afternoon, the lock on the bedroom door clicked. I expected Cashin, but instead, the small boy from the alley tiptoed in. He was clutching a stuffed rabbit that looked worn and loved. Mama, he whispered. My heart broke. I sat on the edge of the bed, the chain rattling softly. Hey there. My name is... Well, you can call me Julian if you want. But I'm a guy, okay? I can't be your mama. Leo shook his head stubbornly. He ran over and climbed onto the bed, ignoring my flinch. He placed his small hands on my cheeks. No. Papa said you went to the stars. But you came back. You smell like rain and vanilla. Just like Mama. He buried his face in my neck, inhaling deeply. And that was when it happened. A flash of white-hot pain seared through my skull. Asterisk lightning. The screech of tires. A voice screaming, get the child out. Leave the Omega. Asterisk. Omega? The word echoed in the recesses of my mind. In this world, male Omegas were rare, practically myths, capable of conception but often treated as commodities by powerful families. Asterisk another flash. Cashin's face, younger, tear-streaked. I promise I'll protect you, Julian. Even from my family. Asterisk. I gasped, clutching my head. Leo pulled back, frightened. Mama, I'm okay. I panted, sweat beading on my forehead. The door flew open. Cashin stood there, his chest heaving as if he had run all the way up. He saw Leo on the bed with me, and his face went pale. Leo, get away from him. Cashin roared. No. Leo shouted back, shielding me with his small body. Don't hurt him. He remembers. He smelled the rain. Cashin froze. He looked at me, seeing the tears streaming down my face, the trembling of my hands. He walked over slowly, the rage draining out of him, replaced by a cautious, desperate hope. Julian, he asked, his voice barely audible. The car, I whispered, the memory clawing its way to the surface. It wasn't an accident. Your father's men. They ran us off the bridge. They took Leo. They left me to drown. Cashin fell to his knees beside the bed. The powerful CEO, the viper of the business world, looked shattered. They told me you took a bribe. They told me you handed Leo over and ran away to start a new life. They showed me the bank transfer. I never took a dime. I sobbed, the grief of 5 lost years hitting me like a physical blow. I would never leave him. I would never leave you. Cashin reached out, his hand trembling, and unlocked the cuff on my wrist. As soon as the metal clicked open, he pulled me into his arms. It was a crushing embrace, a collision of 2 souls that had been starving for half a decade. He buried his face in my neck, right where Leo had, and I felt the wetness of his tears. I'm going to kill him. Cashin growled into my skin, the vibration rumbling through my chest. I am going to burn my father's empire to the ground for what he did to us. But peace is never that easy in a world built on power and blood. The shattering of glass broke our reunion. A canister smashed through the floor-to-ceiling window, hissing as it rolled across the Persian rug. Smoke. Get down. Cashin shouted, tackling me and Leo to the floor just as the room erupted in gunfire. Bullets shredded the silk curtains and decimated the plaster where my head had been seconds ago. Cashin was moving instantly, his military training taking over. He dragged us behind the heavy oak dresser, pulling a handgun from a hidden holster at the small of his back. They know. Cashin hissed, checking the magazine. My father knows you're remembering. He's here to finish the job. Cashin, I choked out, clutching Leo to my chest. The boy was silent, eyes wide with terror. Listen to me, Cashin said, grabbing my collar. His golden eyes were blazing with a ferocity that made the air crackle. There is a panic room behind the walk-in closet. The code is your birthday. Take Leo. Go. I'm not leaving you. You are, he roared. Because if anything happens to you too, I will have nothing left to live for. Go. He shoved me toward the closet and popped up, firing 2 precise shots into the smoke. I heard a body hit the floor. I scrambled on hands and knees, dragging Leo with me. Bullets whizzed past us, biting into the wood and drywall. I reached the closet, threw open the door, and punched in the code. *10-24*. The false back of the closet hissed open. I shoved Leo inside. Stay there, baby. Don't make a sound. Mama, he cried, reaching for me. I kissed his forehead, my heart breaking all over again. I love you. I always loved you. I hit the button to close the door, locking him in safety. Then, I turned back. I wasn't the fragile pianist anymore. I was a mother who had lost his child once. I wasn't going to lose his father too. I grabbed a heavy marble statue from a display stand and crept back into the bedroom. The smoke was thick. I saw Cashin pinned down behind the overturned bed, suppressing fire against 3 tactical operatives rappelling in from the broken window. One of them was flanking Cashin, moving silently to his blind spot. Cashin was reloading. He didn't see him. No, I screamed. I didn't think. I sprinted across the room. The flanker turned, raising his rifle, but he was too slow. I swung the marble statue with every ounce of hysterical strength I possessed. It connected with his helmet with a sickening crack. The man crumpled. Cashin spun around, horror and awe on his face. Julian, the distraction cost us. The remaining 2 operatives trained their weapons on me. Cashin didn't hesitate. He surged up from cover, exposing himself completely. He fired, *bang, bang, bang *, a rapid, rhythmic cadence of death. The 2 men dropped before they could pull their triggers, but one stray bullet grazed Cashin's shoulder, spinning him around. Cashin! I dropped the statue and slid to his side, my hands pressing against the dark blood blossoming on his white shirt. He groaned, leaning back against the ruined bed frame. The room fell silent, save for the wind howling through the broken window and the distant sirens. Cashin looked at me, his face pale, but his eyes burning brighter than ever. He reached up with a bloody hand to cup my cheek, smearing crimson on my skin. You, he wheezed, a breathless laugh escaping him. You always were too brave for your own good. You idiot, I sobbed, tearing my shirt to make a compress. You told me to run. And you disobeyed me, he murmured, leaning his forehead against mine. Just like old times. He kissed me then, a kiss that tasted of iron, smoke, and 5 years of agonizing longing. It was a promise. It was a seal. Let them come, Cashin whispered against my lips as the sound of his own security team finally swarming the hallway reached our ears. Let my father send an army. I have my heart back, and the Viper protects what is his. I rested my head on his uninjured shoulder, watching the door as his men burst in to secure the room. I wasn't Nico the barista anymore. I was Julian Vane, and God help anyone who tried to touch my family again. And that is how the Viper tamed the wolf, by realizing the wolf was never wild, just lost in the dark. If you enjoyed seeing Julian take control and fight for his family, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a husband who locked you up, even if he did it out of love? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,